Okay. So at this point, I said I required 3 layers, right, minimum, for your digital painting. Those layers were a blank white background. Check, I've got that. Base color. Check, I've got that. And then refined paint. Yes, I've got that. And then I did more refined paint, like that. Now I have to clean it up, right? So to finish it off, I'm going to start unlocking those layers that I'm using and seeing what each of them are doing. I don't need to unlock the background white because I know I never painted on it. So if I take off my new refined paint, it looks like that. And so the new refined paint definitely helps smooth it out, add more texture, fill in the gaps. But what does it also do? It has this little example over here. So how do I trim it? I'm just going to use my lasso and I erase. Oh, but I need to be on the right layer. There we go. Now, I still like to have a gray background as I do this. But you have to remember, when you trim, you are not painting with the background color, right? A lot of students, if they work on a white background, will just paint with white to trim the edges. But that's not a good idea here, because you want to actually delete the things from the edges. So what do I mean? If I have a white background, and I'm on my new refined paint layer, and I'm kind of zoomed in and I'm looking at it and saying, well, I don't want that showing up. So what can I do? Well, I've been using my brush this long. I'm just going to hold down Option, steal the white, and then paint this out white. And it looks like you are creating the edge you want. And it looks really good because it's with your brush. The problem is, then when you put it on a background, you have that white. Right? So now that I've done that and I like that, how can I use my digital knowledge to trim it instead of painting it out? I can use the magic wand with contiguous on, keep it pretty narrow, I'll keep it at 32, and select just that white. Now I've selected it, and I'm going to hit delete. That deletes it from that layer, but I want to delete it from this layer. Actually, I want to delete it from this layer, right? That's where a lot of it is. So I can then click on the base paint layer, and that selection will move with me, and then I can delete it out, and then I can move it to the refined paint layer and cut it out. And now I have that edge on every background. There are a few kind of stray marks there. So how do I mostly trim out, especially from the base paint layer? I just use my lasso. And so this is something you can't do in traditional painting. Come on. There it is. I am erasing behind the top layer of paint. That's kind of an unusual thing to be able to do. So it leaves little brush strokes on top. So all these kind of hard edges that are coming, they're coming from my base color layer. So I just trim them, giving them a haircut. But it still shows all those more refined paint layers on the top. Now sometimes I might want a sharper edge, like if it's not a furry texture. But I don't want it here. I want this to be softer. What's another thing I can do? I can also use my eraser tool. And I'm going to use my eraser tool at a lower opacity, like 60%. And the brush I'm going to use is my textured brush. So I'm going to go to brush settings because it's a new tool. I have to set them again. Set the shape dynamics, size jitter, the control to be pin pressure, the angle jitter, super important. And then the texture, I'm actually going to not do the texture because I want this to be fuller. I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. And now I'm going to go in, and it looks like I'm painting with gray, but what I'm actually doing is erasing away with my textured brush from the base color layer. Trimming away. Now, because it's at a lower opacity, it's going to leave a little trace of those colors, but it will help me control this softer edge that I want. So this is the cleaning up your edges. Good practice in any painting discipline. Know how to clean up. In a lot of traditional painting practice, you'll use like tape or stenciling. This is like treating those edges after you've taken the tape or the stencil off. And then you can always paint them as well. And you can paint on any of the layers. So right now I'm going to paint on the old refined paint layer, which is underneath the newest refined paint layer. So not only can you erase on layers underneath, you can paint on layers underneath strokes that are already on top, which can give you some interesting results. It all comes from just building up that surface that we've taken a while to do. And I can still steal colors from any layer. See, I'm painting behind that layer. Kind of fun. All right. Now, how do I save it, turn it in, and then mess with it? Because maybe this is one that you want to print. So, looks pretty good on gray. Oh, that is so weird. Looks like, from a distance, it looked like that was like a D and an M. It looked like I had hidden initials in here. How weird would it be if that said Satan? Would have had it on video, would have gone viral, go on talk shows. That's why you learn video editing. I can edit it in later. All right, you got to stop at some point, and our deadline is here, right? So I do not need you in order to get full credit on your digital painting project, because some digital paintings take a lot more work than others, just depending on the ambition of your subject matter. I just need you to show these 3 layers in some aspect of your painting in order to get full credit. Of course, we want to finish it all off, but you're going to have to do that outside of class time now. And just make sure you at least get your photo reference submitted into assignment 7 by tonight. So now, yeah, I got to stop fiddling with it. Okay, so now there is my Barkley. What do? I'm going to turn off the gray, so there's just the white background. I'm going to hit Command S to save the PSD that I've been working on. Then I'm going to crop it with the white background. Make sure that only the layers I want showing are showing. This is a fun trick. You can look at your individual layers on their own. So that was the refined paint layer I mostly did today with the new brush. Right? This is a refined paint layer on its own that was before that. It's like a colored pencil drawing. And both of them together pretty much have full coverage on top of the base color. And then this was the base color underneath, which fills it out. This is the base color all on its own. So those layers together, that's really what I want. I don't need the sketch showing. I don't think that helps. I don't need that showing. But what if I did think that those things helped and I wanted to trim them out? Well, this is what I would do. I would go to my base color layer, which fills everything up, right? I would use the magic wand with contiguous, and I would select the empty space outside of it. Just going to add in these places. Yeah, very good. And now I'm going to delete that from my base color layer. Whoops, selected too much. So I'm going to subtract this. There we go. Do it with my lasso. Okay, now I can move that selection and delete that from these layers. I just need to unlock them first. Because remember, you can move selections between layers. So now I actually have the rotoscoped layer, which was that, showing. And I have the freehand sketch layer, which was this, showing. But I still have edges that I like around the whole of it. And if I don't, I can just use my lasso to trim them. So all the pixels you created, you can kind of retrofit at the end and make into your own. All right. Yeah, I think I like it better without those layers showing. Well, maybe the blue. Okay, so now how do we save it? We say File. I'm actually going to save it as a different name. Save As. Just because now I've cropped it, but I've still got all my layers. I'm going to call it Final or Finished Assignment 7 as a PSD. Just because I made some final little tweaks. And now I save it as a copy and as a JPEG. To put to Canvas. And because it's free floating on a white background, I can always swap it in for a different background before printing it or doing more with it. But that's the assignment. Just having a white background. I don't need to save my brush file. I can just not save it because the brush is already saved in Photoshop because I used it on a file that I then saved. So now I see that file. I see the JPEG. I'm actually going to crop it just a little bit closer because it's got a lot of empty space. And that's what I'm going to post into assignment 7. So I go to my assignment where I've already posted the first requirement, which is the photo reference. Click on the 3 dots, I say edit. I put my stylus away in my tablet. And I'm going to put in requirement number 2. And this is